Hey everyone, welcome to Renee Ruth Music Podcast. My name is Renee.
And I'm Fred.
We're so happy to be back. Today we're actually going to talk about
why are we leaving the local music scene?
the local music scene. So, and just as we talk about this, we'll be talking about our local music scene specifically.
Correct.
But it's any local music scene. Like I think there's a time to do it and a time to
move on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be stuck in that local music scene forever or for too long of a period, and then you miss the next step.
Depends. Okay. So follow me. It depends. What if, I feel like there's some people who only want the local music scene.
Correct.
And so let's clarify. Like Fred and I, as we approach this conversation, we're talking about the goals that we had when we first met.
Yes.
And
your personal goals is what you want to achieve as a musician, as an artist, singer, whatever.
Right. You know? Like there's some people that I think are quite happy to just run the circuit.
Yeah.
Play their weekend gigs, get their.
You got a steady job.
The day job.
Family.
Well, we know a couple of those bands.
Yeah. And playing out locally. Playing out locally is your getaway.
Or it's just the release. It's like some people go golfing or go. They go play a gig. But when we met, I never saw the local gig as long-term for me. I never wanted the local gig to be long-term.
No.
Because Fred and I had a bigger, when we met, you were actually in a different band.
Yep, in a different band. Shoot, I probably just came off a tour a couple years ago.
Not that long ago. Yeah, so you actually already done the tour.
Yeah. So
you actually did the tour and then came back to the local local circuit. Yeah.
Yep. So again, this is not to be taken as we're offending anyone or knocking anyone's dream or anything. We're just speaking about our personal dreams and what we wanted to accomplish. And you got to start somewhere. So you got to use the local music scene. And so now we're going to talk about why we're leaving. And I think it might be interesting to you all. Okay.
And also, if you identify with our goals, this whole conversation might be helpful.
Correct.
If you love the local music scene, we love this for you.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
We love this for you.
Exactly.
But we had to make some different choices.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So, we don't have to start from the beginning, because if we're talking about leaving the music scene, we can just assume that you had a long, successful career planned out, right?
We did.
Yeah, yeah. So what are some factors, what made you decide, okay, this is going to be the last rodeo? What were some things that you was like, all right, I'm ready to go to the next level?
Okay, I have to tell you a little more about Fred when he asked this question, because when I met Fred, when I met Fred was like, Renee, your music is so good. You got what it takes to get somewhere. Fred was pumping me up, right? You can do this. You've got this. I see this for you. And then it wasn't just you. There was Leslie. There were other people that are and unconnected. I see this for you. I see this for you. So Fred and I. So Fred kind of. You rolled into kind of a music director type thing. He convinced me to take him on first. And that's another podcast you can go listen to. All about how he talked me into this. So once he's drumming with me and it's the two of us, because we were literally, I said, I can pay you in coffee, and crazily enough, he agreed. To that, he agreed to coffee, and we went and a djembe and a keyboard and went and did whatever. But it, then it was I think, Fred, you always, in that effort to move to more, you were constantly suggesting new things.
Yes.
Let's bring in a bass player. Let's bring in another keyboard player, get you off keys. Let's and I was doing this with you. Let's get an agent and try and do maybe because who's the group that got discovered at a wedding, right? Like, oh, if we do the weddings and maybe we'll get our. I don't know about you, but I was always thinking one of these might be the inroad.
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
If we can just get in the right place we were living in that right place, right time. I was living in that right place, right time mentality. Were you not? Like
yeah. Like every show for me personally was, I hope someone's out there.
Is this it?
that wants to pick me up. It's because I'm a drummer, so I'm not the front man. I'm not a singer. I'm not the band is behind. You know what I'm saying?
And it's not unheard of someone seeing you as a drummer and going for you.
Yeah.
And not even necessarily the whole.
Correct. Yeah. So and I had moments that playing out on shows where other musicians will come up and kind of get a feel for you and be like, hey, like you're playing, hey, you want to come and jam with us, or send in at a rehearsal, or hey, if I ever need a drummer, yes, please give me a call. All those things. But yeah, every gig was for for a purpose. Like, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the one that someone sees us? Is this going to be the one that
you're
takes us
packing up your gear and you're thinking about like, who's going to be there? And in some gigs, you're like, this will not be anyone. We're just doing this for some money.
Exactly.
But some of the private gigs, private parties, will there be somebody there that's going to be like, oh, I know someone? And I think for me, to answer your question, I think for me when it was like, it's enough, was when I woke up one day and realized we weren't writing music. I hadn't written music in years, and we were just a glorified cover artist.
Yeah. So we did transition, and these were some of the ideas that we agreed on.
Yeah.
To stop playing at the local coffee shops for coffee, and let's actually play for some money. And on the local scene, if you want to start playing out and playing for some money, originals, your own music is not going to do it.
Not here.
Yeah, especially in our city.
Not here.
So we had to transition into a cover band.
Yeah.
So which meant that first I need to get a bass player. Like you said, get someone to get you off the keys so you can be the front lady. You know what I'm saying? And run the show and entertain. And then we needed horns, and I don't think we've done background vocals.
Didn't get that far because there just wasn't enough. Our talent pool was so small, still is so small here. So it wasn't like we had.
Well, I will say it's large, but everyone is playing with multiple groups.
Spaces.
So
that's right. No, right.
Putting one more band on your plate. For some people, it's like, I just can't. Like, I know I've turned down numerous, because I'm like, I just can't. I'm already working with 4 or 5 different bands, but. Yeah, so we had to transition into a cover, and then we were doing really well that we transitioned into like a wedding band. Remember those years?
That was, we actually ended up with an agent in Richmond who was booking weddings for us and private parties for us.
Yeah. And then we picked up a guitar player.
Yeah, we ended up with like 7 or 8 people.
Yeah. And then we had
a male vocalist.
Yeah, we did pick up a singer.
Yes.
And
And we rolled like that for a minute.
Yep.
And I think it's not that it all crashed down or even that it unraveled. I think it was just, I don't know about you, Fred. I wasn't fulfilled. I was like, I think that if you're an artist in the sense that you have something to say, something to write, a song to sing, like you have. And that's me. Like I have songs that I wanted to write, and I had things I wanted to say, and I just was not unhappy. I just wasn't. It didn't fill my cup. It just didn't.
And I remember having that conversation, like we were doing really well.
We were rolling.
We were rolling. I mean, every weekend we was in the road somewhere. But I remember having a conversation with like, I kind of miss playing your music. I kind of miss playing to an audience that's actually captivated and just like watching, because, on the local side, on the music bar, club, venues, no one's really paying attention. Like people would be like, "Hey, Fred, do a drum solo." Nah, bro. There's no need to doing a drum solo.
He's like, because
no one's paying attention. I'm not sitting here and just busting out chops for people just to be, walking, laughing, talking, and drinking, or doing whatever when you're not paying attention. Now, there has been a couple of shows that people actually paid money, and so they sat down and listened. And then when my drum solo came up, then after the show, they want to be like, "I had no idea."
You could play like that?
Well,
do you remember our Louisa gig? Our Louisa gig on stage? So we did one like all original music focused. Mm-hmm. They came to listen.
Yeah.
I think that's where it landed.
I think that's
for
where
me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to sing to a room that wanted to listen.
Yeah.
And have that energetic exchange, mm-hmm. and not to diminish what we did in bars or weddings or any of that, because we got to hype with everybody.
Yes,
like there was a different, and that's what I'm saying. Like some people, that's what they want.
Yes,
they just want that,
and that's a different performance. Like that third set, like my right leg on the kick drum never stops. It's just you transition from one song to another song because at that time, the party or the reception or whatever is almost ending.
Yes, and
so it was the
height
of the gig, and so you didn't want to stop the music, because if you stop the music, you got that little dead air. Oh, see you, peace out.
Thank you.
Yeah,
yeah, and I think some people would be like, oh, it's because you got too old, and I don't think about age at all. I think about really music as this like growing process for
Mm-hmm.
me and the people that were in with me,
Mm-hmm.
Which has ended up being you. 12 years later, it's Fred and I.
Yeah.
Started as Fred and I, ended as Fred and I. And I think I don't regret the time we spent gigging.
Mm-mm.
That live experience is irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Like you and I could step on any stage in the world.
Correct.
And feel nothing. Be like, let's do this.
Yeah.
So
mm-hmm.
you can't. I think that's irreplaceable. But I always wanted more. So I remember it was you and I. We were somewhere doing a duo thing, and I said we weren't even telling, not one or the other. We both were just like, if we want something to change, we've got to change something we're doing.
Yes, I remember you like really breaking down the definition of insanity for me.
Brett.
Because everyone, this is when everyone was being like, "Yo, that's crazy, that's insane."
Yeah.
We remember that was that was the catchphrase. Everyone was saying that, right? And so then you was like, "Hey, do you know what insanity means?" I was like, "Yeah, that's crazy." No. But I was like, "No, what?" And you was like, it's the doing the same thing and expecting different results. And I was like, "Oh."
So we've been gigging, and our goal was not just to be local giggers. We wanted to go to the next level.
You're right.
And it had not gotten us there.
Yeah, because we were doing the same.
If we keep gigging like this, why would we think anything would change? Like it just didn't. And because we were on the road so much, and we talked before we even started this podcast about the time it took to tear down, to set up, like you're talking 8 to 10 hour days making a couple $100.
Yeah.
And then by the time you finish your road driving and your day job,
mm-hmm.
where's the time to be creative? Where's the time to get in the
it was
studio?
none.
Where's the time it wasn't there. And so before even the pandemic kind of took us on a tour,
mm-hmm.
I had actually stepped out completely,
mm-hmm.
because I told Fred, I said, "Hey, I'm not going to book anymore."
Yeah.
And he's like, "For real?" And I said, "Yeah, no." I said, "I want," and you actually were like, I don't even know if you were surprised, because you came over and we started to try it, because we're like, we have college degrees.
Yeah.
We should be able to figure out how to produce a song. So I'd written this song, and Fred came over, and like the two of us were like, beep, beep, beep,
right.
like trying to make this thing sound like what we heard in our head. And then it was a trip to Los Angeles that really set me off into another direction.
Yeah.
That summer.
Yep.
And then the pandemic hit, and it was like we weren't going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to tell you because I had gotten back into the workforce for other reasons, but I'm glad that we decided to stop booking shows, which forced me to get back into the workforce. And then the pandemic hit, so I wasn't going to be making any money playing shows anyway. So for me, it was almost a blessing. So
I don't think there's any accidents.
Yeah.
This. And that's why, like, when people are like, "Oh, you're in your 40s," it's like, yeah, that's our journey.
Yeah.
Like that's our timeline and our journey. And what a great opportunity to show people that everyone's journey is different.
Yeah.
And it doesn't all look the same.
Correct.
And that's okay. I think for us, like, getting the pandemic gave me time to work during the day and write music at night. Yep. And I just did that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Came up with 2 albums, and now you have the bugs back. Like, you're just catching that bug too, because we couldn't hang out as much in the pandemic because of everything.
Yeah, everything shut down and stuff.
Yeah, but so I did a lot of the writing alone, but like Fred's listening to these tracks going, okay, I want to be part of this.
Yes, yes.
Like, I want to be part of
I remember asking you, like, Renee, when did you have time to do this? Like, you got a whole album.
I do.
Like, when did you do this?
Don't know. Don't know.
And so that's leads me to my next question. What are you currently doing now to promote your shows or your music?
So without saying all this business.
Yeah, don't give all the business.
Not all the business. And there's a lot of, people have heard bits and pieces of what's going on, and there's so many things in motion. Again, I keep going back to the definition of insanity, where every month it's like, okay, if I want something different, I do something different. I'm willing to take risks, monetary risks, time risks. I'm willing to take risks to get into that direction. So, I've got 2 albums. So now I'm actively pushing those to sync agents and TV, movie, film. Then you and I, we've got another producer that we've brought on, and you and I are going to start writing again. And then I also got a publicist. So I've got somebody that's actually getting us seen in the press.
Right.
So, adding that publicist, and it's so funny because, so we've graduated from the gigs. You can see why. We did it because we want to do more. And for us, staying in the local gig scene wasn't getting us there. Yeah. So the definition of insanity comes into play, and we made a shift. So this new year, I've just been working, chipping away at this motion, and we've made strides.
Oh yeah.
But the beginning of the year, Fred's like, I called him up. I said, I got us a publicist. He goes, I was gonna tell you, you've got to find somebody.
Like, we need a manager to get us out there.
No, we still need a manager. We've got a publicist.
Well, that was the thing. I was like, we need someone. We need a manager. We need someone to get us out there. You was like, so I just hired a publicist. I was like, okay, so I was gonna, we were gonna brainstorm if you have coffee or something, but okay, let's take that off the list. All right.
So
next, let's go to the next one.
The next one would be a manager to get us onto tours and onto.
Definitely.
That's really kind of So what we do is we're rehearsing all the music I've done. The 2, we're about to load up the second album. Yeah. Because we spent the last year perfecting the first album. Now we're gonna load up the second album and work through, and then we host, basically live rehearsals here. Yeah. Just to get people in and keep our chops up. Yeah. Performing in front of people, and so we're just constantly moving in that direction. Yeah. So the goal is within the next year. We obviously, things were slowed because we had to wait for it to open back up and people go back on tour and and so the goal is to get to a place where we're touring and opening for a major act. That's the current objective. Yeah. And we have a handful of people now working with us towards it. So it's exciting. It's just a question of time.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's just as we move every day toward that space. So yeah, if you're listening to this and you're, an artist that's wanted to graduate, be encouraged. Sometimes you've got, We were sad for a minute about leaving that local scene.
Yeah, because along with it, I wouldn't necessarily say friends, and I wouldn't necessarily say fans, but acquaintances or familiar faces in the audience. Just may not know them by name, but we've had numerous conversations just because they come out to hear you play, they come out to see us perform. I just remember people like would be out like at a brewery like 45 miles away from here, and they're like, yeah, we drove 2 hours to come and see you. It's like, oh my gosh.
That's why I was like, we've got something here.
And like
they're gonna drive.
Yeah.
And
we're still on the local scene, but people are still finding your music and still making a drive to come and see us perform. And yeah, so that's when we knew we needed to do something different, on a bigger scale. Which will transition me to my last final question for you.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for young musicians or new musicians in the area that's trying to tap into the local music scene?
I wonder, because back when we were starting, like, internet was still nothing like what it is now. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder now if we're not even seeing the younger people on the local scene because they're doing virtual stuff. Mm-hmm. I would say, though, go virtual all day, but there's nothing like performing to a room of people.
Yeah.
And nothing virtual can replace that. Mm-hmm. And any musician during the pandemic would tell you that they just craved the audience.
Yeah.
Which is why I want to bring people in to play too, because there's just something about the audience.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But my advice would be to get out. I mean, also if you're kind of like where I was, where you're like, do I have what it takes to, like there's no better way to figure that out than an open mic. I started at some of those too, like carted my little guitar over and played and just see how people respond. Like usually strangers are honest.
Yeah.
So not like your family, like, you're so amazing. But like you go play for a bunch of strangers and you get this face. Like, oh, that didn't work.
Right.
Another song.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, my advice would be to get out. Just get out, get in front of people, get accustomed to playing with people and see how people respond. Mm-hmm. And that's how you know if you're going, that's how I always knew if I was going in the right direction, because people would say, we drove 2 hours to see you. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Right, yeah.
We must have something.
Yeah.
Like, who drives 2 hours? Like strangers.
Yeah,
These are people we don't even know. So, do that. And then just be excited about what's next. Just know that if you want to continue growing, you want to keep pivoting.
Yep.
Don't stay in one space.
Nah, I don't like being stagnant.
Nah, life's too short. Life's too short. All right, Fun Fact Friday.
Fun Fact Friday.
Okay, so fun fact: if it weren't for local gigs, we would not know each other.
True that.
Not at all. Literally, it was like my second or third gig performing my own music in 2010. Might have been my second gig at Jimmy's is where we met. So we ended up that night, even for some reason, both.
So like
playing.
Yeah, because the band that I was in and we kind of started, we were like, you were opening up for us in a sense.
I was like, what?
And so you were performing and you were by yourself, and so that's what prompted me. And again, go check the other podcasts. That's what prompted me to be like, well, not only do you need a drummer, but again, I was listening and I was like, oh man, like she's a good songwriter. Like
these songs are decent.
The lyrics are good. Like they're on point. They make sense. And I kind of like it because it was refreshing to hear something other than what you hear on the radio about
Journey and
or just the topics, always talking about the money, or talking about your ex-lovers and how you got treated badly. It was a little bit more of inspirational, or just very like romantic songs that you have written. And I was like, man, you need someone to back you up. This is really good, you know. And even on your albums, you know, we all know our personal favorite. I don't want to give it away,
I can
but
tell you,
but
no.
it's just one of the things where it's like, oh my gosh, well, every time I play that song, I'm like, man, Renee, like
when is this gonna?
That needs to be on the radio. That needs to be on a movie.
It's like
like it is. To me, it's one of your best songs written. But yeah, Jimmy's on the James.
If it weren't for local gigs,
that was the spot where a lot of musicians
in our area
that was almost like an open gym for like musicians. Like almost like athletes,
like
you know?
They literally rolled in with their instruments.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Any night, someone's rolling in with an instrument.
Yeah. And either I would have my djembe with me, or I would bring like my little mini drum kit with me, you know, and then like let the other drummers swap out, or you know, it was a really good time, and it wasn't even a gig. It wasn't even like an open mic. You just went there to have a couple of drinks.
Have a couple of drinks, hang out,
and play.
Yeah,
it's like
on any night. It was such a cool spot for that. Like literally, I have people that are like, I missed that.
Yeah.
Like I missed that.
Yeah.
And if you can find that gigging, that's one of the great things about local gigs is connecting.
Yeah.
And meeting other artists and working together to achieve something else.
So. I know for me personally, a lot of my opportunities came from Jimmy's.
That's crazy.
Just because, you know, they would be out, other musicians would be out with their spouses and family, or whoever, you know, their significant others. And then it's like, you know, you get to, hey, I play music. Oh, you do, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh yeah, you're so-and-so. And next thing you know, it's like you exchange phone numbers or social media stuff, and other opportunities came from there, you know. And I'm very grateful for that.
Me too. I'm so thankful for our time there.
I'm
thankful I met
tons,
you.
I've met tons of musicians,
tons
of people that went to Jimmy's on the James to eat. You know.
Thank you, Jim Dudley.
Yeah.
For opening up Jimmy's on the
Thank
James.
you. Thank you.
So you're hearing us say why we left local gigging, but why we value local gigging.
Yes.
And the importance of it.
Yes. As you know, we've done our time.
We did, yeah. It was we put in our time.
Yeah.
So we're moving to the next steps, and stay tuned in these podcasts for what those next steps look like, because we're going to talk about so many of the different spaces and how we move into them. Because I think the middle story is so important, and most people don't get to hear middle story.
No.
You're hearing the middle story like in real time.
Yeah.
Like. We literally don't know how this is going to happen. Like you're going to hear with it.
Right now.
Right now. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Later.